Okay, but I think that we try to start up the meeting, and I would like to welcome you all to this STARS talk. It's been given by our European Universities Alliance, STARS EU, and is an initiative to share the knowledge and competence within the network and give others from partner universities and outside in the regions and companies the opportunity to see a little bit about with which kind of knowledge and which kind of interest we have and what we are doing, and to open up, share knowledge, and be able to find mutual interest perhaps in the end. The format of these talks are that we have set aside 1 hour. The presenter have the ability to use up to 45 minutes, but not more than 45 minutes. So there will be the possibility of some remarks, questions, and so on. But it's all up to each presenter how much of the time you want to use, but up to 45 minutes. And afterwards, as I said, there will be at least a quarter of an hour of possibilities to questions and remarks and so on. We have run these talks now for quite some time, and this talk is the third for the autumn semester. We have another one in December, and there will be further coming on in January. The talks are normally each month in the middle of the month on Wednesday afternoon, just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Central European time. And the talks are from our knowledge and our research, and not least from our thematic interest groups. In this case, I think most of the people interested might be from the entrepreneurial and innovation thematic, but it could be from others as well. So all are welcome and interested, and I hope that they will participate from several areas and several interests, regardless if they are from the thematic group or not, and if they are internal at the university or not, because this is an open session. I will also like to inform you all that this is recorded. It means that if you are not feeling comfortable and are not accepting the terms that you will be visible if you ask questions, and your picture will show if you sometimes during the recording, I'm afraid you have to leave, because we are recording this to be able to show this to others afterwards as well. But I hope and think that all of you will be accepting that one without any problems. Today's presentation and webinar is on the topic of entrepreneurial mindset development within the Alliance, and it's addressing the development of entrepreneurial mindset in people and in students in different ways. Very interesting topic and relevant for most of us. And I have the honor to present today's speaker, Jeroen Loef, the strategic expert in entrepreneurship education at Hanze University of Applied Science, and are doing your PhD. You're just about to finish your PhD in this area, and I think a lot of your points and which kind of information you're sharing with us is based on your research within that as well. So it's an honor and a privilege to give the floor and the word to Jeroen, and I'll be here monitoring, and if there are any issues or questions, and I will also follow, I should say, if there are anything in the chat and so on. And yeah, please, Jeroen, the floor is yours, and a big welcome applause, virtual, and please, it's your turn to say what you want to say about this very interesting subject.
Gunnar, thank you so much for this introduction. Let's start off by saying that I enjoy interaction. So if you have questions, don't keep them inside and ask them, and do that in the chat so we can see if we can answer the question going when it's still fresh in your mind. And if you feel like for yourself you would want to have this question at the end, then keep it till the end. As Gunnar said, this is a topic that is very close to my heart, and I'm finishing my PhD studies on it. And what I would like to show you is why this is important, what we don't know about it, and what I hope we know more about through my PhD. And that it is also something very personal, probably for more than only me. But I want to start this Stars Talk with this picture. This is a picture of my daughter. She is 1 year old in this picture, and she's on my shoulders. And 10 seconds ago, before this picture was taken, this would not have been such a fun picture. If you are a parent, you completely understand what I am talking about. When a child is born, all parents are also born. They do not come with a manual, so sometimes you have no idea what you are doing. And 10 seconds before this picture was taken, Faye had issues. She was she didn't want to go to the places we wanted to go. She just really wanted to sit on the bench, and I was kind of fed up, and I just picked her up, threw her over my shoulder, and walked across the square. And she was laughing out loud. She was laughing her lungs out, and it was amazing. And you can actually see in the picture that it has effect in the square. There are people turning around and looking at her, what's going on. And if we would have taken this picture 10 seconds later, you would have seen a lot of people also smiling and getting energy out of her laughter and her enjoyment of life. And what I take out of that, and these are one of those pivotal moments in your life where you're like, wow, I did not know this was the support I was supposed to give. But if I can share this story, we can actually talk about it and talk about what kind of support we need. The other reason why this picture is important for me is in the background, you see a red bus to the left of Faye's head. And above that bus, there are scaffolds. And those scaffolds are being used to do something with that very nice old building behind it. And scaffolds is something that is also really, really important in education. Because scaffolds are something that you use to get a job done. It gives you support to be able to get to the same height as the problem, or it is maybe even part of the solution to be able to support someone in a problem. And they are temporary. So they are gone. Maybe they're back again, and after 8 years they have to do some renovation again. But if it is done correctly, the scaffolding is not needed anymore. And you can adapt the scaffolding to what is needed in the support. So those themes are what I would like to go through with you in this talk. 3 topics then: entrepreneurship education, with a question mark. What is it actually? Entrepreneurial mindset profile, and then scaffolding connected to that. Like Gunnar said, I just adapted this picture because it's further along. So it's between 3 and 5 months where I have my defense of my PhD, which is a load off your shoulder if you've done it, but which also gives you really cool insight into a topic that is really close to me, entrepreneurship education. So if we are talking about entrepreneurship education, in theory, it is a point A to point B. But if you are in it, you know it is not true. In theory, there is no difference between theory and practice, but in practice there is. So what we usually see in these kinds of interactions that we have with our students in entrepreneurship education is that there is a different. They set a goal for themselves and they think, okay, it's going to be a straight line towards that goal. And in practice, what we see is that there are going to be barriers, there are going to be pitfalls, there are going to be life is going to happen where stuff happens. But the fun part is that these are not per se negative things. It could be incredibly positive. That if you are, for example, really feel like I want to be in a boat and really done not thinking about my goal, but I have to relax, I have to have different kind of interactions to actually be able to grow, then you can actually look differently at that journey. And when we look at entrepreneurship education, what we see is we are more than able to find models in which we can explain to our students, or if we can use an accelerator programs and an incubator programs, what it is you should be researching. Are we talking about your value proposition? Or are we talking about your revenue stream? Are we talking about design thinking, where we want to empathize with our customer, if we want to find a product market fit or a solution fit? So there's kind of a consensus in what we should do in entrepreneurship education, which has been summarized into the entrepreneurial competence framework, where we are more than able to find the competencies aimed at either ideas and opportunities, resources, and into action, where these competences are all split out into, okay, what kind of education should you connect to this? So, for example, business model canvas teaching is something that is connected between the resources and the going into action part. But what we also see is that there is a shift in, it is not only about the enterprise anymore. It is about the person, the product, and the process. So in our field, the entrepreneur, the enterprise, and the entrepreneurship, which fits best. And we have a lot of data, a lot of literature, a lot of models and lists and plans about the enterprise, so the venture that we want to create. But there is not a lot known about the value creating aspect of the mindset. So what you see is that there is a shift in literature towards, okay, what can we actually do with the interaction between the person and the process, because they are incredibly important. And if you go into the entrepreneurship field, if you look at investors, the idea, the concept is just one of the things they are looking at. The aspect that they actually really are interested in is the entrepreneur. But they don't have metrics for that. And we don't have sufficient support structures to actually support the development. So if you look at that individual, so if you look at the mindset, that's the journey. We are talking about someone getting a call to action, needing support, having a certain need or drive or interest to change something in the world. And we know if you go fast, you go, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, we have to go together. And that's a very, very wise African proverb. So if you put that into a graph, which we are really good at, you find that there are incredible individual emotional aspects that connect to that entrepreneurial journey. Where someone, if you look at the number 8, for example, the abyss, that is something that's the place in literature, so Lord of the Rings literature or Harry Potter literature, where there is a complete change of the person, and there is a transformation going on, and the hero pops out. But with every journey, if there is a destination, there are different routes, there are different pathways. There is not a one-size-fits-all. But what do we do in our education, more often than not, is that we ask a fish to climb in a tree. We do not connect it to what is actually this individual, or what is this mindset capable of doing. And if we do not change this, if we do not find the working components in, okay, how can we actually support more than one mindset? So not just the people that want to create ventures or who want to create startups, but also the people that want to be entrepreneurial within organizations, or who do not even see themselves as entrepreneurial. We as educators have the, I would almost say, obligation to really be able to help and support everyone in being able to be entrepreneurial. which is not the same as only having a financial gain. If you look at the multiple value creation aspect of entrepreneurship, societal, cultural, ecological, and financial, we are focusing too much on that financial aspect, where the other three are more important for the challenges that we have. So what if we can actually create education where we can connect to those different mindsets? That's actually the main topic of my PhD. So what if we can actually do that? And when I was a teacher, what I found is if you create a program, and that program is actually the same what you do with all of your students, so the competencies are the same, the learning outcomes are the same, the kind of classes that you teach are the same, and also the group that you teach that to is also kind of the same. They are not that heterogenic. Why is it that not all of them experience what you are doing in the same way? The easy answer would be the teacher. They have different teachers, so there's probably something going on there. But you can control for that. You can actually take into account, you can go as far as, is this a teacher that believes in starting with an A and then going down, so or starting with a 10 and going down, or is this a teacher that believes in you start with the 1 and you go up in your grading? You can control for all those variables, and that was not it. There was something else going on. And when diving into effectuation theory, actually what Saraswati already found in 2005 is that the journey from being a novice entrepreneur and going towards an expert entrepreneur has incredibly individual components. It has to do with the numbers 1 to 4 in the box, where you have individual differences that are connected to your motivation, your understanding, your capability to listen to feedback, how you repeat the things that you have learned, and is it actually, is what you're doing, does that fit with your entire being? But if we do not have attention to those individual differences, and we do not have the same access to knowledge, we do not view the differences in assumptions and experiences as important, and we do not give room for reflection on learning, then there are, by definition, people are going to fall out of that journey because they are not supported. They maybe feel that call to action. They maybe even have already crossed the threshold, but if they do not find their Gandalf, they are not going to be able to continue on their journey. They are going to drop out. So what we actually saw in our programs is that it was the interaction. It was what happens between the teacher and the student, and between the student and the student. That is something different than that it is the student themselves or it is the teacher themselves. It is that interaction that is going on between them, the bridge that is being built. So if you view this graph, you see you can kind of see there is the same kind of point shown as there was in this picture. We have a destination, but we have different journeys towards that. But then what are the starting points? Because if we know the starting points, then we can get a clear view of, okay, what are those differences? So we dove into research on entrepreneurial mindset. This is also connected to Saraswati's research, where we look into those differences. And the definition that we found, which was really operationalized, was the ability and willingness of individuals to rapidly sense, act, and mobilize in response to a judgmental decision under uncertainty about the possible opportunity for gain. Other research has already shown that this is actually trainable, because if you look at the aspects of it, ability connects to competence, and willingness connects to motivation. And if you put it simply, it is the intermix of ability, willingness, and action. Being able to do it, wanting to do it, and doing it. And what we used was a survey, which was developed by Davies in 2015, which I can share with you, where 7 personality traits and 7 skills were found to be antecedents and important in connecting to entrepreneurial mindset. And we did this survey with approximately 500 students, where we asked them in entrepreneurship programs. So that's a program where they are asked to develop an innovative company-ish. It's not like a complete tech startup, but more like innovate a coffee mug, or think of a certain target group, which is more often than not themselves, if they are students, and find something that you would want to innovate in your daily life. And during that 20-week program, we, at set intervals, we did this entrepreneurial mindset profiling. And also within those courses that they received, we asked them to keep a journal. So a journal about that course that they were following. And what we asked them to do in that journal is write down what are the aspects that actually benefit you in your development, and what are the aspects that you, or the interaction, sorry, that you feel are detrimental to what I'm doing, and what is neutral for you. So we ask them to grade their interactions and also write down the interactions. And why, I will come back to that. But what we did with this data set, this is a 70 item questionnaire, which is a challenge for students to do, but it's about 12 minutes. And then you have your entrepreneurial mindset profile. And what we did is a cluster analysis. A cluster analysis on all respondents to see, okay, are there actually clusters there? And if they're there, what are the aspects that connect to those clusters? And we found 5 clusters that are significantly different within the data set. This is what it looks like if you plot that on the ability and willingness axis, where it actually more looks like this in the data. So it's a cluster that also overlaps in certain aspects. And the most interesting aspect that we found in connecting this back to the students, so giving them back their profile, was that they themselves were like, okay, now I have language to actually describe what is happening in my mind, which is incredibly powerful. Because if a person can describe from themselves with their own words, okay, this is what's happening, then we are able to support what is happening. Because then we can actually unlock, okay, this is actually really logical, that if you are for example, the pragmatic innovator, who is a structured thinker, but we are asking you to collaborate with a visionary risk taker who is really more than able to go out of those structures, that's going to be a really interesting collaboration, as in the sarcastic one. They are going to have issues. So what this gave us was a filter over that entrepreneurial journey aspect. So we found starting points. The starting points are those entrepreneurial mindset profiles, because all of them had to be in that course for 20 weeks. But what we found is that not all of them are on the same point in the route. They are starting somewhere different. So this gave us words, it gave us language to adapt the support. And we threw these descriptions into DALL-E. They made these pictures out of it, which I just found cool to use AI in this respect. But why is it that so important to actually adapt that teaching that you give? And this connects to the zone of proximal development, which is a really well-known learning theory, where if we are in our comfort zone, we probably will not learn something new. Actually, we do not learn new stuff. We just do the things that we already know. But there are also aspects that are too dangerous for me to learn yet. And in that zone in between, which is called the zone of proximal development, that is where I can learn new things if there are knowledgeable others and if there's access to technology. The easiest analogy that I find is learning how to swim. You do not get thrown in the deep end. You will also always get supported either with those things around your arm, the flotation devices, or you have the swimming pool where you start in the shallow end, and where the middle part of the pool, where the bottom of the pool is sloped, because it is connected to the length of the child. So you can go as far as you are still able to do certain aspects. And the teacher is the one who assesses your ability, your competence to be able to do it, and gives you the permission to go further along in your zone of proximal development. And there are strategies to actually do that. And if you zoom into what scaffolding then actually is, it is that communicating vessel of support and responsibility. If I give 100% support, so I am actually doing your work, you will not feel responsibility to grow. And this is something that you can actually shift. You can use strategies to shift the support. You can lower the support where you increase the responsibility. But that is also something that is really individual. It is connected to what kind of support actually works for me. So what we did is we operationalized the 6 main scaffolds. There are more of them, but these are the ones that we can actually really operationalize also in respect to those journals that we wanted our students to keep. To actually ask them to use wording in the way of these scaffolds. So what was actually something that really worked for you and what was something that was absolutely detrimental to your development. And one of the most fun things that I found in the data set, so we did actually a triangulation. We asked them to do the survey, we asked them to do the journal, and we observed their interactions. So we filmed the classroom interactions from a teacher perspective and from the student perspective. And we also did interviews with teachers. So we did pre-interviews with teachers. Okay, what are you going to do? And we did post-interviews like, what did you do and why did you adapt or why didn't you adapt? And there was one teacher who used a lot of humor in the classroom, like jokes. And what you actually saw in the observations, so we actually saw it on video, was that there were in the same classroom students that were like, "Oh no, here he goes again." They disconnected completely because of the joke, and there were also students who you actually saw they got it because of the joke. They understood what the model was about. And in the journal, we found the same kind of language that was used. There were certain students that were like, he should not have used that joke because I'm not taking him serious anymore. But there were other students in the journal that were like, yeah, now I understand it. I just don't have, what was he saying? I don't have, translating it, to go. I should not think about it too much. That was like the idea, what they were saying. Which is really interesting because then we got back into the profiles. So could we connect those different interactions scorings to profiles? And we could. We could actually see that these kinds of uses of certain scaffolds connected significantly to certain profiles. So you get configurations, you get recipes. Okay, if I am, and this is something. It is not so that if you do the profiling, you are not 100% that profile. This is something you connect to the most, but it does connect to, okay, this profile probably connects to a certain way of scaffolding them. So that's something that we explored, and we found that it is true. There are actually profiles that benefit from different kind of scaffolds. So if we know that, if we have that program, which in essence is the same, so we have a set 20-week program where we put the same kind of challenges to our students, we have kind of the same students, and we also have kind of the same teachers, then we actually can adapt our learning environment using these kinds of clusterings and scaffolds. So for example, if you as a teacher have the proclivity to use a lot of questioning. So you do not give answers, you give questions back. There are going to be profiles who are going to hate you because they feel like you are actually stopping them in their development. That is not your fault, but it is the interaction that is being manipulated in this way. So if you know that you have certain profiles in your classroom or in your program, you can actually adapt your teaching to that. You can tailor the scaffolding to the different profiles that are in the group, which does not mean that you have to completely change your teaching, but you can actually maybe find a colleague or find a working field partner that can, for example, be a role model for certain mindset profiles, which gives you the ability to be able to focus what you are good at on the profile that resonates the most with you, and which gives the students the ability to actually get the support that they need to be able to develop. What we also found is that there are pathways in that development. So what I just said, you are not your profile, but you are able to connect to profiles. So you are, for example, the pragmatic innovator is someone who can really understand the visionary risk taker. He can kind of understand the systemic executor, but he has problems with the opportunist and with the pioneer because they are too different. The personality traits and the skill development are too far apart, but they can learn to understand each other if you can use language and if you can use scaffolds to actually connect them to each other. Which is also interesting because this really depends on what the goal, the need, and the interest of the student is. If the student wants to be able to connect to more people, then it is a different kind of pathway that you give them. But if the student wants to be more able in a certain field, so wants to be really competent, really wants to become an expert in a certain field, then you can give a different kind of program to the student. So you can adapt your courses, you can adapt your learning pathways to what those profiles need in their development. This is actually a Dutch site, but if you want to do the profiling, there's also an English survey there. It takes you about 15 minutes and you get your profile real time. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Jeroen. Much interesting, really, many food for thoughts and a lot of interesting information. I'm certain that there will be a lot of questions or remarks from the interesting audience. So, yeah, please feel free to either raise your hand or in another way indicate that you have something that you want to ask or comment to Jeroen.
So the first question that we have ready from Elena is, yes, it is in English as well.
Okay, yes, please, Naila.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation, and that was very nice and insightful. And so what you talked about, having different archetypes actually in class, and then adjusting our teaching to that in classical educational system is quite challenging. So I want to ask you, what would be the role of educational policy and structure of the existing institution that you're operating, teaching, on that adjustment? I mean, did you look at the connections in that sense?
On the policy level, you mean?
Yeah, policy level and also the structure of the higher institution. I mean, let's say Hanze, we are working at Hanze, and there are certain things that we have to follow. And so I would like to know if you looked at these connections.
At Hanze, I did. Because I'm at Hanze also myself, so that's something that connects very logically. But what we are actually talking about in this respect is the effectiveness of education. And if we can be more effective in what we want to do, and if we have that challenge that we want to have all of our people to be more entrepreneurial, which is not the same as being an entrepreneur, then this is something that connects really logically to every university that has this in their policy, because this gives you the building blocks to be able to create those learning environments where you can fit it to what the student needs. So at Hanze, yes, we have the fitting learning routes. I don't think it's translated like that in English, but the passende leerroutes, which is also something that we connect to. Does that answer your question, Ezra?
In a way it does, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we have Dalibor. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Great presentation. Thank you for that. I'm thinking about, you mentioned learning routes. Could you quickly elaborate on that? Because that seems like a nice solution or kind of a solution that can university like implement on a systematic level, as Neila was talking about.
Yeah, I think I now understand next last question also better. Is this something that could be implemented on a university policy level? Is that the question that you both have?
Yeah, it probably also brings Neila, but you mentioned learning routes, which
Mhm.
could be some kind of adjustments in a policy level on how to implement even your takeaways from your research,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. So in teacher training programs, we are already applying these towards the entrepreneurship programs. But what we already are finding is that we are just calling it an entrepreneurial mindset because that is what the questionnaire was called. But what you are actually talking about is the development of transversal skills, of future-oriented mindset. So it's a matter of language, how you would want to position this, but this is absolutely something that I feel should be part of university policy, because with this insight, you all also connect more to the student. I've been doing this in our vocational educational partners in the north of the Netherlands, and one of the sessions that I did was this September, where we went to second year international business students, where they also kind of got the same presentation, but we went more deeply into what the different profiles actually are. And their teachers were like, wow, we have never seen them be so engaged 2 hours in a row. And I asked that class back, okay, do you recognize this? Yes, because you are talking about us. I am not talking about models or ventures or value propositions. I am talking about the person. And if we want to empower our students and in my view everyone, then we have to give them language to be able to talk about themselves, and then this needs to be university policy. The university should be a place where I can develop myself, and if I am more able to articulate what I need to be able to develop, and if that is also something that connects on a university level, on policy level, then you get it goes bottom up, but it also comes top down. And then in the classroom, it will be a non-issue. You will be talking about your developmental pathway.
Okay, thank you. So just clarify it. You mean that this is like the approach for better self-awareness or something like that? So you work within these clusters so that students can relate to cluster and then better understand themselves and then be able to adjust the learning path to their needs, right?
Yeah, what we're actually doing here at Hanze is using these profiles to look at what are we currently offering in our courses and how are we actually offering that. So what is the teaching like? To actually see, okay, are we actually connecting it to all of our different pathways? Why are people actually dropping out? And we are finding that it has to do with that interaction. So you can create new programs where you use different interactions where more people are being kept engaged. They do not drop out anymore.
Thank you.
Yes, most interesting. Sabrina, you had a question or remark, please.
Yeah, yes, I have. My question to you is that what you were suggesting, I felt that you were suggesting that universities should have person-centric education because, because students have a different entrepreneurial mindset and they're also, accepting suggestions or feedback differently, right?
Yeah.
But how are we going to do that? I mean, isn't that difficult for a teacher to have a person-centric education unless we coach them individually? So are you talking about the coaching or teaching? Because they should be different.
Coaching, in my mind, is an aspect of teaching. So teaching is more than only. Einstein has a really cool quote on this one. Education is more than just filling It's more than emptying your brain into someone else. It is about kindling a flame. That is what is behind this. If we are able to actually support in the way that it is needed, this is, by the way, something different than there are always going to be competences that people need to learn. So there's this fundamental aspect that has nothing to do with I don't want it, you just need it. Language being one of them, for example. If I don't want to learn English, be my guest, but you are not going to be part of the international community. But if we are looking in the development of these kinds of skills that are connected to entrepreneurialness and entrepreneurship, then what we found is that I think it is Lakeus who also does a lot of research in Denmark on this value creation pedagogies, where there is this connection to the individual. It is incredibly important to be able to adapt to how support affects learning. So does that mean that you have individual teaching? No, my point would be aware that there are clusters. And in those clusters, there are going to be individuals that are going to be in the outliers. But if you are able to connect a program, for example, to those systemic executors, and those are the students, which if I describe them, I think you will recognize them. Those are the students that are asking you for instruction. They want you to tell them what to do. In that same population, there are going to be students that they are looking for a role model. Now, what we're doing is we are trying to develop a one-size-fits-all program. But what we actually know from data is that we should actually have 5 different programs which connect to those different profiles. So not individual, but it should be connected to the clusters. And it is going to be step by step, because we have courses at Hanze. Those are more often than not connected to really pragmatic outcomes. But we also have in different domains programs that are connected to just fill in the list and you're done. What are you actually learning in those kinds of programs? And what we also see, and that is from a teacher perspective, is that teachers really use their own personal knowledge to connect to the development of students. And this is also something that kind of explains why certain interactions are different, because we are using a different starting point as a teacher as well. And if you can make configurations out of, okay, if these are the profiles that need these kinds of support structures, then you are not really adapting it to the individual, but you are adapting it to the like-mindedness. So sports, for example, is a nice example. Swimmers have a different training regime than runners do, than climbers do, than rowers do. That it is in that same kind of field. Does that explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, it does. But I still have a lot of questions, but maybe I should allow others to ask questions too. Because I'm very much, when you mentioned about value creation pedagogy, I liked it. It sounds nice, but I would like to know how it can be done. Because it's very difficult in a class of, let's see, 50 students, and 50 coming, they are having 5 different clusters. And I have also one kind of personality or way of teaching.
Yeah.
And that may be liked by one cluster of students, but not maybe the 4 other clusters of students. And it's kind of difficult to standardize this value creation pedagogical style. But as I can understand is that we can have teaching, but at the same time we can also have individual coaching sessions or cluster coaching or something like that. That can be a solution.
Exactly. Yeah, and what we are now developing is, because Nesla is asking if there's going to be a toolkit. Yes, we are developing that, where we are actually connecting those different interactions to okay, what if this is the interaction that you have, so like kind of like a role play, and where you assess yourself on, okay, what kind of interaction am I more than inclined to use? Am I going to go to the direct instruction, or am I going to use questioning? Am I going to use a role model? And if you go through that survey, you will find your preferred way of using scaffolding. And what you find if you use that as a teacher, you find which profile you connect the most to, which gives you an insight, and it gives you also the ability to talk about it with your team, to talk about it with your educational developers. Hey, this is something interesting. We have these kinds of profiles in these kinds of classes, but we do not actually connect to them with our teaching. Maybe we should get a training, or maybe we should hire someone externally, or find people in university that can actually do that. But again, this is novel, right? This is this is my PhD, so it's brand new.
We have a question in the chat, which I think refers to this as well. A practical question from Naila. Will your research result in some kind of toolkit for educators who can improve their educational skills?
Yes.
that was a quick and easy question. That's really good.
Because I think that is also in line what Sabrina is saying. Yeah. Because as teachers, this is all an important topic, and not all of us actually equipped in that sense. And so if your research will result in some kind of toolkit or guidebook for teachers to understand, what they are and how we can apply them in class, that will be great.
Yeah, and that's something that one of the main aha moments that I had was it gives you language. It gives you words. Okay, so these are actually the things that are going on, and where it is no longer just your feeling, we now actually are able to articulate it in those profiles. And what I also found really, really interesting is how the students themselves are also talking about their own profiles, and not in the way like, oh no, I'm like this, that's why I do this. No, it is, okay, you scored on this item like that. So for example, if you have a student company where you have someone who has the highest score possible on future focus, and in that same group, you have someone who has the lowest score on future focus. You know that this is going, as a teacher or as a coach, you know that those are going to be the people that are going to be having a difficult conversation, because one of them just wants to go and the other one is like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? And now you can actually adapt your coaching, adapt your teaching to those interactions where you are able to actually support them. Or you can find out, okay, this is an interaction that I'm actually not good at, and that's going to be part of that toolkit. I have to find someone who can help me with this interaction.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jeroen. I have a question as well, and that comes with the groups, the clusters that you identified. I was thinking about, do you see them as like learners or individuals are in their clusters, or are they movement? Are they depending on which kind of teaching influences, input that they get, that they will move from pragmatic innovators to another cluster as well? So there's more, it's more complex than to state that people are in a certain group or not.
Exactly true. And also it's a personality skill and a competence skill. So personality is something that we could reflect on with our students, and competence is something that we could teach. So there are absolutely aspects in there that which they will change, but that is also the entire idea behind the pathway, because you are able to adapt to it. If the student has that need, that drive, and that interest, if they are completely fine with where they are, in their comfort zone, so to speak, then that is also fine. It is not the case that one of the profiles is a better entrepreneur. It is in knowing yourself better to understand how how my support should be organized to be able to grow in what I'm doing. And also, context matters. So in psychology, if you're talking about mindset, you have your state and your trait. I'm doing it wrong again. Trait and state. So there's this base level, what you are always kind of are, contextualized. So if I am, and again, sports is a really nice analogy in this one. Your sports mindset is something that is going to spike if you are in a sporting event, or if you are going into a certain field. In entrepreneurship, it is the same. You have the trait, so the baseline, which you are connected to, but the context really spike your what is needed in that context.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeroen. Any other questions or remarks? I saw that Dalibor had to leave, but he wanted that he's looking forward for expanding this discussion. And I think so as well, since we are an alliance of universities, European Universities Initiative Alliance, with a lot of different actions and activities. I think this is a very important issue that you have brought to us, Jeroen, that it comes with when it comes to looking at the innovative teaching, it comes to developing pedagogy, but also acquiring new knowledge and research. It comes in very different ways, a lot of important input into what we want to do and how to do better, and to learn from each other and to improve the output for student and society, regions, development, and so on, that we learn and do more and better. So I think it's, as Dalibor stated it, we need to use this and to develop this. We need to share the knowledge and improve, develop the what you have given us. And I'm looking forward to see your PhD paper.
I can actually share some of them already.
I remember that I have heard your lecture. I think it was in Hanze last year. You discussed your thesis, right?
Yeah.
And I had a lot of questions about that day as well. But yeah, it's very interesting to know that you have come this far, and it's good. And hopefully you will be finishing your PhD soon and give us some idea about improving our pedagogical skill, especially to develop this value creation pedagogy.
Yes, that's the reason why I started this entire journey. So I am more than happy to share, and I really, if you have questions, please send them, and I will try and answer them if I have the answer.
Okay, if no further questions, or I would then again very much thank you, Jeroen, for this talk. It's been truly interesting, and I've as you have heard, me and others have gained quite a lot of aspects and interest and knowledge based on what you are doing. So thank you very much, and we will try to develop what you are doing and learning, and to share within the network to develop what we are doing at our partner universities even better. There will be another STAR talk this autumn as well. The next one will be in mid-December, and actually that one will be, which is mid or December 18th, which is a Wednesday at 1 o'clock Central European Time. The student board will present what they are thinking about the possibilities and what STARS EU would mean for them as a student at a partner university in the Alliance. So I hope that you are able to attend, and please share the word with others, but because the students are very much important for us and for everyone, because they are the future. They are the one that we hold our education, and that we create their mindset to be entrepreneurial and go out and develop their regions and the companies and the be a better world ahead of based on what they are doing. So please try to show up December 18th for the final for the autumn, and once again, thank you all for showing up and participating, and thanks, Jeroen, for your nice and interesting talk. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.